Come on, Vegito! Come on! Come on! Come on!
Zia!
What? The hell is that? Don't worry about it. Wait. What? How'd you get? Fuck!
Hold on. What year is it?
It's 2025.
Is Geeks good?
No, but you're just in time. We're getting a sequel.
Will that be good?
I don't know. What say you, Tiny Galaxy Blade?
I hate it here.
Yeah, no. Send me back. Going back.
So, that goes YouTube video, huh?
Shush you. Let me get back to my horse girls. Final race. Let's go. Mezamero. Yes! That's right. Zeztz had its press conference last night, and I streamed it over on Twitch. So you can catch the full unedited first takes over there, but essentially, this has probably become one of the worst kept secrets, as just about everything was leaked well ahead of time. And I don't know if it's Toei that just is doing controlled leaks, or if they just suck at it. Because knowing a day or two ahead of time, we kind of already knew everyone else in the cast. Sure, Toei told us who the main writer was, but in terms of the other cast members as well as the intro, we found that out a little bit ahead of time, leaving not much for the press conference in general. Though the press conference itself was actually a little bit odd, a little bit return to form, because I was shocked to find out that it was actually live. It was actually going on as we were watching it. It wasn't pre-recorded like what we had with Gavu previously. So that was a thing. Nothing pre-recorded, but hey, that also made it feel a little bit more limited in terms of scope. See, for a show that has been announced to have worldwide distribution, this press conference lacked any of that. Once again, being restricted to overseas only, which is why I needed a VPN just to be able to watch. And that makes this specifically catering to its core demographic, which is Japan. It's been a day, and I tried giving it the benefit of the doubt, since, you know, I'm an investor in things like Nintendo and other companies that usually would do something like this and then release some sort of press kit or press sheet announcing some other stuff for the worldwide audience. However, Toei didn't do any of that. So the speculation of how the global distribution of this show is still up in the air as of me recording this. And with a month left until the debut, I think this is a little bit of a bad decision. See, I put on my business cap in times like this, and it's baffling how conservative of an approach they are taking when it comes to this show. They should be going balls to the wall when it comes to the advertising push for Zeztz to ride the hype train, but instead, they're just sticking close to home. They're riding the train at home base, and none of that has really trickled to the Western front outside of the usual flow of things, aka your basic social media types. So, in terms of the common folk really finding out anything about this show, it's par for the course, but we don't have any of that. Let's go ahead and take toys for example. If there are plans for proper US distribution for toy releases, things like SKUs and planograms would need to start being worked on the back end to prep up for the release. And as someone with, you know, connections to retailers and things like that, yeah, it doesn't appear to be the case as of yet. So if we're getting these toys, they likely aren't coming day and date, but much later on. Plus, given the tariff situation, we got costs to factor. Now let's look at video distribution. Nothing! Like, is it just gonna be, say, YouTube? I mean, that's cool and all, but I feel that the advertising push for that might end up still just being word of mouth, because I can't see Toei actually spending money to be pushing promos within the YouTube confines. I mean, when you look at things like Kamen Rider Amazons and Black Sun, yeah, they kind of just dropped on Amazon Prime US with little to no advertising. They were just there. So if you knew, you knew. Hell, Amazon's was changed to Amazon Writers for a while, so good luck finding it for that little bit, and then at least delisted for a little bit, and then came back. And that's on a proper streaming platform. It really feels like we're gonna end up with very minimal effort from Toei, and that's my fear about the unknowns when it comes to these prospects. But look, enough about me just being some sort of way about their lack of proper communication. Let's actually talk about that press conference. What did we get from it? A pretty cool trailer. Everyone complaining about the heat, traffic noises, and 20 minutes of photo ops at the very end, with this guy over here clearly dying from the heat. So let's go ahead and break down some of the information that we got from this trailer, as our titular Kamen Rider works for the organization known as Code, the confidential organized defensive establishment, which is indeed word salad. It's kind of like they wanted to make organized short for organized crime, but they knew that the acronym COCD would be, well, hilarious. While we're at it, it should have actually been Confidential Organized Crime Defensive Establishment Syndicate.
Got him!
The organization is headed up by this guy. No, wait, this guy, Zero, who is both bike and android. Our lead, Baku Yorozu, is Agent 7, working for Code as they hunt down physical nightmares. Joining him is his sister Minami, Nemu, who is so well known that she happens to be in everyone's dreams, looking different, and pursuing Baku's exploits are some guy from Ultraman Taiga and Kamen Rider Lopos. His actors as completely new people. And our villain for the show is not Ultraman Jade.
It's a wannabe, looks like him.
And yet, he's like 13 years older than the guy. Yeah, believe me, I was shocked too. But yes, Nox, he be up in the dream world, bringing those nightmares to reality. I will say, that was a hype-ass trailer. It got me hella interested. I did get that Fies meets Kiva with a splash of double vibe from it. I mean, we got the light-ups, check. We got the transforming bike, check. We got the ever-present moon, check. We got some blue butterflies, check. For a second there, it really made me think that what we were gonna get was a Toshiki Noe or possibly a Riku Sanju show. And maybe I was wrong in my speculation of who I thought it was actually gonna end up being. But, of course, that's not what happened at all. No. What actually happened?
そして脚本を務められる高橋優也さんです。お二人ともメッセージ届いておりますのでご覧ください。
I told fucking y'all! I called this shit ages ago!
内和也です。よろしくお願いします。まずそのデザインを一応
Fucking told y'all! I got this shit locked down! Got the prediction down pat!
世界でグローバルにこう
Yes, that is right. Yuya Takahashi returns. For those unfamiliar with his works, he did X-Aid, which was great. 01, which, while I very much enjoyed at first, obviously what happened was, well, 2020, the Rona hit, and, you know, the show had to make some adjustments. I'll give it benefit of the doubt. But then, we got those spin-offs to 01 that, in hindsight, a lot of people are better off not taking for canon. Then we move on to his latest installment, Kamen Rider Zeztz, which had a fantastic first arc, floundered, retconned its own lore, sidestepped characters for other characters, and got very into itself and left a lot of us who got invested into its story and lore just jaded by the very end. Now, if you'd like to see my own descent into the show's madness back when I could afford to make content weekly, working just one job, well, all those reviews are still available on this channel. But then, obviously, after the show ended, we got some more retcons to the shows with more movies and side specials. Hooray! But then, there's more. Yuya decided to dip his hand into a massive crossover experiment known as Kamen Rider Outsiders that was itself its own spin-off of his own President Special. See, he's just been buying up tenure, because I bet y'all didn't even know that he was also the head writer for the mobile game Ride Comics. The man just won't go away, and my fear is that sure, I completely 100% believe that the first arc of this show will be amazing, phenomenal, probably 10 out of 10 perfection, because the man knows full well how to write a first arc. He's like the J.J. Abrams of Toku. He's a good setup guy. That's what he does. He establishes foundations and gets you guessing. What he's not is a payoff man. And that's where I've got my issues here. On the music side of things, the presser had me hyped because they dropped a name I'm very familiar with, and that's Hiroyuki Sawano, who's done compositions for things like Gundam Unicorn, Xenoblade Chronicles X, and the original Garo. So I was indeed hyped, only to find out that his only contribution to the show was the arrangement for the theme song Visions, sung by Nacht Vane. Which, it's fine. I definitely need some visuals for it, but it's fine. Actually, the composers are the same guy that works on Gavu currently, and the guy that worked on Godchild before him. Okay. So yeah, look, I judge a lot of these shows not by the outward appearance, but by the internal workings. Like anything in fandom, people look at the directors and producers and the writers of films to get a general idea of what they're going to get, with a splash of what the corporate entity that is running the whole thing behind them is as well. Like obviously when people think of the MCU, they think of Kevin Feige, they think of all the different directors that work on these films, not so much the writers, because the directors tend to be the face of those films, and of course Disney as a corporate entity right above them. It's the same thing with how we're looking at the DC films currently, comparing people like Zack Snyder to James Gunn. And of course, this is not just a Western notion. It applies to things worldwide as well. Like I know when it comes to anime, a lot of times people do look at who is the creator of the source material, the mangaka. So Toku is no different. We look at things like the head writer, we look at things like the production staff to get an idea for how the show is going to be based off of how the history was beforehand. The creatives behind the camera are the substance factor that goes into these shows, with the actors simply being the delivery of said goods. And right now, we have a corporation that has been seemingly uncaring of the Western market that is taking a very cautious and quiet approach to their first majorly distributed outing of a show. Very safe picks in terms of fundamental staffing and a head writer that is living off of his Toei tenure. When I really feel that he needs to spread his wings, Takahashi needs to just go work on something not writer or not Toku for about a decade, and then come back creatively refreshed and recharged. And then we'll have a moment of what's old is new again when that happens. But right now, he's kind of having the Inoue effect back when Inoue overstood his welcome back in the early 2000s of Kamen Rider. Then when he came back, hey, what's old is new. Now, I say all this about Takahashi because now in hindsight, you can tell just how Takahashi coded this show just looks and feels. Baku as a lead just gives off that Ace 2.0 vibes. He's got that cool guy swagger and the vibe of someone who has far more experience than someone of his age should be. That seems to be pretty par for the course when it comes to one of his lead character archetypes. They do throw in the goofball little hair swirl in the back there, but most of the time, the guy's just looking cool. Of course, since dreams are a major factor, it could be that his character in dreams is much cooler than his real-life persona. So there's at least that. His little sister looks like she raided Neon's closet from Geeks. However, she apparently is a talent manager, which, once again, for the ages of these people, they sure are qualified for these positions very young. As for Nemu being so famous that she's in people's dreams, that's like another Neon coding there, because she, of course, was an influencer herself, and I guess that's just how we make things modern for these folks. I'm actually a bit more interested in the detective side of the story, because it's been a while since we had proper detective work done, so hopefully, we can get that going up. And look, I guess you can try and make the argument for Hanto, but he was an investigative journalist. Much different. While the big kooky mystery is going to be Mr. Sentient Bike Zero. Like, does he only exist in the dream world? Or, like, if he tries to show up in the real world, does he get stuck in bike mode and just can't really communicate? Like, that's really the big ongoing question. What exactly is Zero? Is he an android? But then, if he's an android, how is he running an organization? Like, what's going on here? What are we doing? Who's this guy? Is he a real guy to put his brain inside a bike? I mean, we've done things like this before, but okay. Like, a big elephant in the room mystery when it comes to Zero here. Though, the big question is, how much English are they gonna throw at us from this guy? And am I gonna end up making it a drinking game on streams? Generally, yes. The prospect of traveling between dreams and having the duality of life is indeed cool, but also channels a bit of that Emu energy from X8. So, is Baku gonna end up being like the Emu type, where he was just his doctor self up until he transforms and then he gets that epic gamer mode going on? As I mentioned before, I like the suit. It looks very Western inspired, but there's just that twinge of AI slop in appearance that I just can't shake off. Once again, if I'd seen this suit back in like the mid 2000s when I was younger, the internet wasn't that advanced when it came to AI tech and stuff like that, would probably be peak suit. But in the era that we're in now, it's just hard to shake off some of those aspects. However, in this presser, we did get it in proper daylight appearance without any color correction, and man, he looked naked. But Baku's civilian fit? That should look nice. So as I've said, I'm expecting a fantastic, really good first arc. And I know that there's a fuck ton of folks that are going to be riding that high all the way through. But if shit starts to go downhill, well, we'll see. But look, I'm a guy that would love to be proven wrong here. Let me get that hype and cohesive story. And of course, yes, I understand that this airs in a children's Sunday morning programming block. But come on now, if you're trying to embrace an international audience, you're going to have to do harder than just looking cool. But yeah, Gozuger, working on it. Gavu, we'll see. Might end up being when the show wraps up. And I mean, it also depends on Horse Girl game over here. And time management. All in all, I think my biggest disappointment has less to do with the show itself, and even the staff for that instance, but more to do with the announcements. Because you see, there's too many folks out there that are always fixated on the next new thing. So much so that they ignore what's in front of them. And that's true in both the sense of fandom as well as the companies behind the show, because it starts to knock the wind out of the sails of what's currently available. And sure, Gavu right now is falling into the pit of badly resolved plot points and getting close to stumbling the landing. But the focus isn't even on this anymore because everyone's already talking about new thing. Once episode 1 drops, I ain't touching it until I get everything finished with Gub. Because if anything, it at least deserves a proper send-off before we begin to just ignore it. Says the guy that's covering Zeztz for like the last couple videos and then hasn't done anything for Gabu, but hey, at least I'm not like some others that will go ahead and cover episode 1 of new show and then come back like a week or so later with, oh yeah, here's my final thoughts on show that ended, you know, a couple weeks ago. Because I'm already talking about new thing. But yeah, that's it. If there's any major news that drops, especially in regards to its worldwide distribution, then I will go ahead and cover that on the Friday night live streams. That's what it's all about, is talking Toku news and Toku topics. But outside of that, everything else, keep an eye out for it. I'll get to them. But until next time, bye.
目覚めろ。